Okay, so we now welcome on the Strictly Hockey Talk podcast. This man is the Vancouver Canucks prospect guru for Canucks Army. He co-hosts the Blackfish Prospect Show. You can find his work on obviously Canucks Army and Oilers Nation's Flames Nation Network. It's Dave Hall. Dave, how's it going, man?
Yeah, good. I'm really good, thanks. Yeah, the list got a little bit longer in the last couple weeks. So yeah, basically if it has nation in it, I'm probably contributing to it.
Yeah,
So
it's great. Yeah, a man of many talents. So, Dave, I guess the first question is obviously this Canucks season has gone completely off the rails
yep.
in more ways than one. I mean, in terms of the draft coming up, like, what's they're gonna finish top three, right?
Mhm.
I think where they finish is obviously to be determined. What's your top three ranking? Your top three prospect ranking right now for the draft.
Yeah, my top three in no, I mean, actually, that's a lie. I guess there is a particular order. I think at the end of the day, it's got to be Gavin McKenna or Stenberg, especially for Vancouver. That might change depending on the team. But right now, I think if you're the Vancouver Canucks, you'd be stupid not to go for the highest upside forward. Just right now, we even see a kid like Kirill Kudryavtsev come into the lineup, and like the defense is in decent shape at least. You got Sawyer Minio down there, so I think the forward group has to be the one that needs to be resolved. But if you're not going those two, and you slip to third, and both those guys are gone, I'm of the agreement where I'm a little bit. I'm okay with a lot of the names, but for me, I'm a Chase Reed guy. I do think Chase Reed does carry the highest upside, potentially in the entire draft, but definitely amongst the defensemen. And while I'm a little bit impartial to the fact that I'm actually okay with a lot of the names here, I do think if you're going for high upside and you want that real reach of like a potential game breaker, I do think Chase Reed is your guy.
Hey Dave, Tanvir here. I just wanted to ask you about the guys that are after McKenna and Stenberg,
Yep.
and it feels like there's like a tier of guys, like five guys that could go three,
Yeah.
and you like Chase Reed. Personally, I like Caleb Mahotra, but I haven't
Yep.
watched tape like you, right? Like I've watched some highlights on Twitter here and there. I like to watch his interviews to see what kind of kid he is, like the character side of everything. But for me, Caleb Mahotra entices me the most, and maybe a little of that is biased because the Canucks need center in their
Yep.
prospect pool. But I just feel like his size is skating and his hockey IQ is really good for a centerman, a
Hmm.
two-way centerman, and maybe he has a ceiling that we can't even predict because usually guys that have that kind of character, that hockey IQ, the size and the speed, like it's hard to judge if they're going to be three C's, two C's, or maybe even a one C. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on Caleb Mahotra as a prospect?
Yeah, and not to cop out, like honestly, I really don't mean to cop out, but I'm honestly okay. I think Chase Reed is the best player, but I can see a world where Caleb Mahotra is the pick. Like you said, or like I even said, they do need forwards, and if anything, they need centers. So, like I don't, for me, I really like him. I love the way that he plays the game. I love the way he, handles himself off the ice. I don't know if I'm quite there on the 1C. That's not to say he can't be, don't get me wrong. I just, I just wonder if if he's able to be that true elite play driver at the NHL level. But even if he doesn't, and he's let's just say a 2C, kind of like for me, he reminds me a lot of Braden Coots. Like he really does. Like the way he plays the game. He's kind of just that leave it all on the ice. He's the kind of guy that you win games with. And so hey, if you have even if it's a middle six, if your middle six is Braden Coots and Caleb Mahotra, wherever whoever goes first, you're winning games no matter what. And so I even had a tweet like that today where, that's your middle six. And then you go to the 2027 draft where there's even more centers available. So now in two drafts, you could ultimately just go from one of your greatest weaknesses to one of your greatest strengths and just have three pretty studly centermen, all pretty much the same age. So I'm okay with Caleb Mahotra. For me, I think he's a guy that you win games within your middle six. I'm just not so sure if it's going to be that 1C, which is fine. It's just like, is that the type of swing you want to be taking at third overall? I don't know. Again, I'm not going to be upset with it. I just like it's hard for me to look past a guy like Chase Reed. It really is.
But yeah, and if Kale Mahotra, like yeah, he maybe not be a McDavid, McKinnon type franchise center, but if he's like a Nick Suzuki type, like
Totally.
That'd be pretty good, right? Like I take that. I take that in a heartbeat.
Yep.
And the other thing about Chase Reed is he's an American, and I'm not. I mean, he's an American defenseman from Michigan. Like, are we
Yep.
not concerned about? We just got burned by an
We
American
just saw
defenseman from
this.
Michigan. Like I'm a bit concerned about that. Like maybe like to me that's a red flag. That's a red flag.
He did just decide to choose and come to Canada though, and he's playing in the Sioux willingly. So
Is he going to be there next year though? I can see him going back to college. I can see him going to a college team.
oh no, he is going to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. And hey, that's fine. I mean, I'm personally not really on the, I know that a lot of people are, and it's so I don't bash if you are. I'm not personally on the let's not draft because of nationality stance. I know there's a lot of people that aren't into the Swedes, which unfortunately, if you're one of the in that party and you're not into Swedes, this isn't the year for you. There's a lot of really studly Swedes out there. But hey, I can see that argument, and like, if you want to die on that hill, that's fine by me. I just, like I said, if you really want to change the organization and go for upside, I just think Chase Reed is your best option.
Culture changer though, right? Like that's the thing with the Vancouver Canucks that as a fan, I haven't seen since the good old days, right? Like the
Yep.
culture changers, we don't have like even Quinn Hughes, as great as a player he wasn't a culture changer.
No.
And like we need a guys that can change the culture in this organization. And I'm not saying name Manny Mahotra the coach tomorrow and draft his son in June, but what I'm saying is if you can find that guy in the draft and you believe he can be that guy, and even if it may seem like a reach at three, because a lot of people may say that Caleb Mahotra might be a reach at three, I'll take him just because the Vancouver Canucks are missing that culture changer.
Yeah, they need culture, and I know already brought his name up, but Braden Coots is the same thing. Like, you talk to anyone, coaches, teammates, anyone, and the first thing they're saying about Braden Coots is culture. And so, yeah, like I said, if you got Caleb Mahotra and Braden Coots coming up, you're winning games. Like we're talking captain and assistant. But you know what? There's also another name, and I apologize if you're going to bring him up at some point. But for me, it's tough because it's kind of where the Canucks are at a premium right now. But if you want to look at culture, like Carson Carrolls is like I just had an article about him today at Canucks Army. He's quite something. Like if he shoots right, he might be the top defenseman in this draft. He kind of is just a jack of all trades, bring it every single game. Like he's a good farmer, Saskatchewan boy, and he brings that work ethic to every single shift. So if you want to like for all intents and purposes, he seems like a culture guy as well. So if you really want to, like he kind of has those issues those issues like Caleb Mahotra as well, where it's like you don't know if he's going to hit that. Is he a true number one D man? I don't know. Is Caleb Mahotra a true number one center? I don't know, but I do agree with the fact that you do need those culture guys. So I think that's a great argument.
Dave, it's Brian here. Thanks for joining us once again. I think we got to talk about the elephant in the room right here, right? It's a pretty big elephant too. I know we haven't talked. We're talking about defensemen. I love how you brought up Carson Carroll's one of my favorite defensemen in this
So
in
good.
this draft. Why are people down on Katon Verhoff?
Well, I think, I mean, I can tell you why I'm down on Keaton Verhoff. And it's not just something that came up this weekend. It's something that I've noticed for quite some, like basically since the World Juniors, I've kind of taken a close eye on him. And for me, I just, obviously he's a 6'4" right hand shot defenseman. So no matter what, he's going to garner some attention and he's going to go high because of that fact. But for me, skating is an issue. Like he's pretty good north south, and he's fine when he's in the offensive zone. He's got some decent speed. But for me, the lateral movement is slow, and the backward skating is what really gets me. Like he gets burned quite easily at the NCAA level. Now, before I even go to the thing that really concerns me, I will preface to say that he's a 17-year-old in the NCAA level. He could have easily just stayed in Victoria, which as an Islander, I wish he did. But and he could have gotten 80 points this year as a defenseman. So you do have to take a season with a bit of a grain of salt. He is 17, playing amongst men. But the big thing for me is like it just comes down to the decision making. Like there's so many. I didn't want to just because I didn't want it to be a Keaton Verhoff bashing. I try to do these draft articles that I'm doing at Canucks Army with an unbiased opinion, but my montage could have been quite lengthy of the amount of just like pucks that he just throws away for no reason. It almost seems like as soon as he gets put up with a little bit of pressure, especially in his own end, he's just doing whatever he can to just get rid of that puck. Like there's no, it's not like with Chase Reed and even Carson Carroll's. It's like, there's a little dynamicism where he's trying to, figure out a solution. It just seems with Verhoff, he just seems to get rushed. Again, something that can get maybe grow with time, but for me, that concerns me, especially at third
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, well, me and Brian have had that debate because I, like in December, probably saw that problem with Verhoff's game when I was watching the YouTube clips and stuff, and it felt like he was making a lot of mistakes. And yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. He is like 17 playing in a very competitive league, especially college now. Apparently, it's even more competitive than ever.
totally.
A lot of these guys going to college from junior, and but just for me, it's like. I don't really care if you're playing in a lesser league. I want to see you perform to your best ability in that league because I remember that 2017 draft when Elias Pettersson got taken fifth overall by the Canucks. Cale Makar should have gone one,
Yeah,
but because he was playing in the Alberta Junior Hockey League, people thought that he wouldn't be
that's
able
a
to
good point.
translate that game
Yeah,
right to the NCAA and the NHL. But if you just watched him play in that league, he was just so much better than
unreal.
everyone,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, so you have to pick and choose sort of. And if Verhoff, I know he's young in this league and he's not doing what we expected him to do, then it sort of is a little bit of a alarm bells ringing in the back of your mind, thinking
Yeah.
maybe he's not going to be that guy, right? But who
I, and
knows?
I think it's a legit concern. Like it is a concern that even I've talked to, the people that watch him even more than I do, and are there on live on a regular basis because there's a big difference between viewing live and viewing tape. So even I've even talked to people that've seen him live, and it's a legit concern that he we might not be looking at the third overall pick in June. He might slip down a little bit. So at the end of the day, I hate to just come on here and just completely contradict myself all the time, but I just like I'm not gonna be quote unquote upset if they do get Keaton Verhoff. At the end of the day, like I said, he's a 6'4" right shot defenseman who can skate okay. Like he can figure it out. And so at the end of the day, there's always a spot for guys like that. So
There was a debate on Flames Nation. You go on their show, and one of the guys was making an argument for the Flames being better off with Gavin McKenna more than the Canucks.
oh
What are your
yeah.
thoughts on that? Do you think that which team needs McKenna more, in your opinion?
I don't who needs it more. I don't think there is a team that needs it more. Like personally, I love him. I don't really know. I don't really understand what the actual argument is. Like I don't really understand why Calgary would deserve it more, or Vancouver deserve it more. I think, or is Calgary a better environment than Vancouver? Probably probably should be. Yeah, they do have better players, but I don't think the game plan is for him to figure it out next year and the Canucks to, figure it all out by next year. I think the plan is to use Gavin McKenna as a stepping stone towards, build next year, build the year after, and hopefully within the next 5 years they have something to push for. So for me, the argument it's fine. You can have the argument all day, but for me, I don't even know what the argument is, to be honest. I just don't even really understand what the issue is. Like I just the Canucks are bad. Calgary's bad. I don't know. For me, it just didn't really make too much sense.
I was sold on McKenna. The week after it came out, he punched that guy out at the bar for talking about his mom. He did the McGregor celly after he scored. I was like, I'm
He's
sold on
got
this guy.
swagger.
I'm sold on this guy. Take him first overall, right? Like
I agree.
with a bullet.
I agree. And like for me, I brought this up this week too, and it's like I still don't know if it makes sense to anyone, but in my head it does. Like for me, if you're the Vancouver Canucks, it's more riskier to pass on him and him to hit than it is for them to take him and him not to hit. Like I don't think that's why. Like admittedly, I was Ivor Stenberg for a lot of the season, until he showed a little bit more engagement. I thought in the back half, and obviously the numbers did some wonders. But the more I watched him, the more I just realized like this guy's just whether he hits or not, he's got this ability that you just can't pass up on at first overall. And we talked about nationality. He's a Canadian kid. There's just so many, you hate to bring, ticket sales and but there's just so many reasons to take Gavin McKenna.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've said it on this show before. I've said it on this show before. If they're going first, they're drafting McKenna because McKenna is the box office prospect of the two, right? Like, let's be real. Like, he's the more recognizable
Yep.
name for, the casual hockey fan. Nothing wrong with that. I don't think it's a reason to take him over a guy or another, but it's a consideration. Do both these guys kind of project to
Yeah.
be wingers at the NHL level?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think maybe you could try, like if you wanted to try Stenberg at the center ice, you probably could, give him a whirl. But I think at the end of the day, you're probably looking at two wingers. Neither of them, although they're both good skaters, I wouldn't consider either of them elite skaters by any means. So their strengths are at the wing. I would just keep them there.
Okay.
Dave, another defenseman that I want to get your opinion on. I know I've seen a lot of mock drafts that he's been dropping recently, and compared to where he was ranked the preseason, is a local product in Ryan Lynn.
Yeah.
How far do you think? Is there a possibility? I know the Canucks got two first round picks. I know we talked about definitely all the prospects going in the first half. Is there a world where I don't know if Ryan Lynn is injured or not, but is there a possible where we can get him at the second pick in the first round?
I don't know. I think that's a stretch. Like obviously, if he is, you take him. You take him. I mean, I guess it depends what they did with their first pick, but I don't know. I just can't see like if he it's kind of like a Vigo Bjork, if he's like 2 inches, 3 inches taller, I think he's a top 5 pick, like or top 10 for sure. He's just so smart and he's like a true quarterback on the back. Like I just think there's so many intangibles in his game that are so impressive. That I can't see him slipping past the teens. I know he is going to slip, mostly because of his size, but I don't know if he's going to go to the 20s.
What are your thoughts on the Ruck twins? They're getting a lot of noise after Craig Button's list. He had them like going,
Yeah,
I think 16 and 19, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
Um, do you have them that high, or are they more second round guys?
So did Stephen Ellis. Stephen Ellis, shout out to Stephen Ellis. He just had his mock draft or his draft rankings, and he had them in the teens as well. I have time for Liam Ruck in the early 20s, maybe even that 19 spot. That I think that's fine. He's shown he's got a great work ethic and he's shown his shot has some real snap to it. I don't know if you saw his goal the other night, the shorthanded one, but like just that release is something else. So he can score goals and there is some pizzazz in his game. So I can see with a guy like him, I do wonder if there's a little bit more recency bias with a guy like Marcus. Like, up until 3 months ago, like we were talking third, fourth round pick here, and now all of a sudden he's jumping up to 19, 20. I get it. For me, it you really if you're gonna take him with a night if you're gonna take Marcus at 19th overall, you better really hope that he can do this without Liam and become a 19th overall pick. Because if you're taking him 19th overall, you're leaving quite a bit of skill on the board. Like there's gonna be some players still available, and I just like for me, I have Liam. I don't really do personal like full on rankings, but for me, I see him as a mid to late 20s. That's for Liam. And then with Marcus, I'm thinking somewhere in the second round. Now, that's the thing. Like, I've always thought, if you take Liam, let's just say with your second pick with the Minnesota pick, do teams fade Marcus because you already have Liam on the squad? That's
Basically.
something that I wonder. So I wonder how long you can go. Like, can you make it a few more picks before Marcus Ruck goes, or at that point, if you kind of get some diet, like some intellect that, some intel that he might be going, then you can maybe make a trade into that second round at some point. But I don't know. I just don't personally see him going in the teens.
Yeah,
Just
I
to
always
piggyback on
thought.
what Tambir said, just to piggyback the question of Tambir said, are the Ruck twins going to be a package deal though for one team?
That's yeah, exactly. For me, it kind of seems crazy of them not to be, right? Like that's why I wonder, like if someone takes them, like, do you really risk? Again, Liam's always been, no matter what, Liam's always been the higher ranked guy, the guy that pretty much teams would take and then take Marcus after. Like if Liam's gone, are you really going to take Marcus at 20 something? I don't know. It's a big risk considering he was ranked so low just 2 months ago. So for me, I think you do everything you can to try to take him as a package deal.
Yeah, we were having this argument, me and Brian, a week ago or so, and he said that if the Canucks take Liam with that Minnesota pick, how hard are teams going to try to take Marcus? So then they would have to trade for Marcus. But I think your point on teams wouldn't even look at Marcus in that range because they probably looked at him as a package uh, deal
Yeah.
makes more sense in my opinion. I think a lot of teams aren't just going to take a player just because the Canucks took his brother. I don't.
Well,
or they could
why I
be.
said that why I said that was because if you're looking like a team like the Calgary Flames, who got 4 second round picks, if the yeah, it usually never happens, and I doubt it's going to happen this time around as well. Somebody like sabotages the Canucks if Canucks take Liam with the second pick. But if you're a team like the Calgary Flames who got 4 second round picks, and wouldn't it be tempting to select Marcus with one of those second round picks just so you can keep the Twins away?
Or what if they just, if they kind of give some subtle hints that they're gonna take Marcus so that the Canucks take him.
Yeah, exactly. They might waste a
It could
pick.
be, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there any
It's
chance?
an interesting topic. I don't know. Like I talked to them earlier, and they really haven't gone without playing with each other since they were four. Like there was some times last year, like in the playoffs. I know Marcus didn't get into some games. Like they have played a few times, but for I would say 99% of their lives since they were four, they've not only played on the same team, but played in the same line. Like it's gonna be a real tough sell for me to take one of the two and hope that they can, figure it all out at the next level because they're already, their skating is already average and, there is some obviously some work to be done. And so you're really taking a bet with either of them that they can get it done on their own.
Why don't they just like kind of just say to all the teams like, hey, like if you don't take both of us, like we're just not going to sign.
No, these get like again, I've
That's
only,
not a possibility.
I can't I don't think they're those kind of kids. They seem like way too just they just want to be drafted.
Yeah, good
I mean,
Canadian kids. I
yeah,
get it. Yeah,
exactly. I just don't see it happening. Like I can see a world. I know what you're saying, but I don't know. After talking with them, it just really seems like they're pretty humble
yeah.
kids.
They're not American, so they're fine. They're
I
not going to do
no comment. No comment.
it.
It feels like if the Hughes were all part of the same draft, they'd probably make that.
Oh yeah. You know that would happen. Yeah. Why do you think the Devils took Luke Hughes?
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
When it comes to the later half of the draft, other than the Ruck twins, as we talked about those guys, is there anybody that you're hoping falls to the Canucks
Ooh.
at 24 that you would be, pretty interested in taking?
People that I hope or I would love the Canucks. Like my number one target, and he has been for pretty much the whole season in that mid round, is Adam Novotny. If they could, it's not going to happen. They would have to trade up. I just don't see him falling to the 20s. But if it's like an early enough, I don't know if they can somehow entice and somehow manage to get their hands on an Adam Novotny or a Hemming, like Oscar Hemming is also a player that I just think has a lot to offer. Those are two guys I would love for them to get. Realistically, I'm willing, depending on where they go with that first pick. If they go forward, I'm changing my role. But if they take a defenseman with the first pick, I'm hoping that they kind of go a little bit with a JP Hilbert, just like a pure like for me, he just reminds me of Brock Besser, pure goal scorer, like a one shot scorer, some skating, deficiencies, some worries about his overall floor, really. But for me, he's the kind of pure goal scorer that I think you need in an organization like the Canucks that just desperately need goals. So if you're going defenseman, if you decide to go third overall and you pick a defenseman or even center, to be honest, if you don't get a winger, let's just say, I think JP Holbert would be a nice pick in that 20 spot.
Kamloops Blazers, right?
Yeah, Kamloops Blazers. Yeah, and like I said, he's you want to talk spunk, like you like the Gavin McKenna. The Gavin McKenna Sellies, like JP Holbert can score like a garbage goal and make it seem like he just scored a Stanley Cup winner. So
I like that. I like that.
Another prospect, which feels like just keep asking about the defensive prospects in this year's draft.
there's a lot of them.
Xavier Villeneuve. Xavier Villeneuve. I know he's a little bit undersized, but like when I watch his highlights, I want to study his tape. He's got flash and dash written all over him. Do
Oh
you
yeah,
think is there a chance? Is he more of a boom or bust type of prospect?
I think so. Um, I think he probably goes towards boom more than he does bust, but he definitely, I mean, you're always taking that risk when you like he's the exact prototype of players that we see slide all the time. Both Hudsons, I mean, eventually a team's going to learn and you can't just let these guys slip all the way to the second like of anything, but he's that prototypical, just like all flash, all dash, just not a lot of physical attributes or traits, and just a lot of a little bit of defensive issues, and just there's a lot of risk, and there's going to be a lot of coaching to be done. But you're totally right. He's like if he was just a little bit more sizable and had a little bit more awareness on the defensive end, he's probably another like he's one of the most craftiest players in the draft. So I think he's probably going to be a steal because he's probably going to slip and he's probably going to end up being a steal. And we can look back at this in 3 years from now and probably be like, why do they keep doing this? It's probably going to be the Canadians. They're probably going to take him and they're going to keep getting away with it. So.
Well, especially in today's NHL, where this undersized defenseman with offensive ability is like,
Yeah.
there's so many of them now. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when Quinn Hughes came into the league, didn't feel like there was as many Quinn Hughes in the league, but now you're seeing a lot more of these smaller prototype.
Fast twitch.
Yeah, with the skating ability on the line, like it's pretty awesome to see. But also, I feel like the defensive game hasn't really taken that step like it used to. Like I feel like the defensive side of the game is very you don't find those defensive defensemen as much as you used to.
No, and with a player like Xavier, I'm actually okay if you want to take that swing. I like right now. I'm kind of just thinking Canuck centric. Like
Yeah.
if you don't have a player like that and you're picking like 19th, 20th, I'm okay with taking that risk. I just think for the Canucks, I just don't think it's a risk you need to be taking when you got guys like Z. If you got obviously the defensive core is pretty chock full of some nice young talent. I just don't think you really need to be taking that swing when there's already guys that are going to be in your spot in the third pick. So, you're going to add, if you decide to go defense with that top 3 pick, then you're already adding just another one to the list. I just don't think you have to really take that swing. But I don't disagree with a team if it's their first and only pick in the first round. I don't blame them for taking that swing.
I got a Canucks prospect question for you because we
Ooh.
all know about Coots and we know about Leckermack and Wielander and DPD, but there's a couple guys that I'm sort of interested in that nobody really talks about because we don't know if they're going to be NHL players yet. One is Riley Patterson,
Yep.
and the other is Anthony Romani. Those
Mhm.
guys were drafted a couple of years ago, later in the later rounds. Do any of those guys or any of those two guys have a chance at being NHL players, in your opinion?
I've gotten a lot more intrigued with Roddy Patterson. Like obviously he put up numbers this year, career high. But like the thing what I like about him, he got 40 goals, 44 assists in the OHL. Say what you will about the OHL. I know that people have left and all that stuff, and it's a bit watered down, but he had 25 more points than the next Niagara Ice Dog. And I believe out of his 84 points, I think it was only like 19 of them were on the power play. Like he's generating at 5-on-5. He's winning like 53% of his battles. So for me, that was the biggest thing. He finally got out of Barry, who for whatever reason just kept him second line, third line, and he was playing wing. And then this year he goes to Niagara, and not only is he playing top line everything, but he's playing up the middle, and he's doing a hell of a good job with it too. Like he was winning faceoffs in his first 2 games with Abbotsford. He went 4 for 9 in his first, or 4 for 13 in his first game, and then in game 2 he went 9 for 13. So he can win faceoffs. He's done a really good job at working on that. And for me, his shot really boomed this year. Like he's now finding you see him picking corners, you see him really utilizing that shot. Whereas I thought before he was a little bit more like I always saw him as a bit more of a playmaker than a shooter. And this year, like all he did was score goals. And it wasn't just like they were all of the same variety. Just like whether it's from the flank or slot, he was just picking corners. So for me, I really like the shot. Seeing him, especially in Abbotsford, it was nice getting to finally see him make that jump. I do think there's going to be obviously, some strength that's going to be needed. I do think there's going to be needed work in the skating as well. But you're looking at a 4th round pick who's just making his first rounds at the pro levels. So I do really like that he can come in and get a taste of Abbotsford. I just really like even though it's 4 games, he can kind of go into the off season now and like, he knows what he needs to work on. And so skating and muscle is always going to be the issue. So I really like Patterson. I think he's carved himself up as like a legitimate 3C option, maybe second line winger option, if he does make that move. We'll see how next year goes. With Romani, sorry, I'm going on a tangent here.
No,
but
go ahead. Go ahead. I
You
love
got
it.
me going. With Romani, just like Patterson, or even more so than Patterson, like he's a one-shot scorer. He knows how to put the puck in the net. Like, and he had decent, like really good numbers as a third liner in Michigan this year. The problem that I have with Romani is I just don't like. At least with Patterson, I feel like he moves around the ice decently, and he's always looking for. a way to move around the ice. Whereas with Romani, I really struggle. He just really struggles in the board battles, and he's a little bit stationary in that sense. Where he like as soon as he's matched with a little bit of physicality, he just doesn't really have an option. And so for me, I really like the offensive profile. He's a player that I worry that the all around game just isn't there. Next year's going to be a really nice challenge for him because, like I said, he was playing third line, pretty much with the same line mates all year. Michigan's got a couple guys that are leaving next year, Michigan State, sorry, and so I'm really hoping that he kind of jumps a little bit to maybe that 18-20 minute mark, goes on top power play, and we kind of get to see a little more from him where he's playing with some better players. And I would just like to see a little bit more, I guess, dynamicism from him. I just, for the player that he's going to have to be, like with Patterson, I do think there's a lane where, he's a third line center, where with Romani, he kind of has to hit as a top six winger, or else I just don't know if he's making it, like I think he's just one of those prime candidates to be like a really good AHL goal scorer, and then just doesn't really, you know, prove it at the NHL level.
Dave, just a couple more questions here, and then we'll let you go. What's going on with this Russian goalie, the Canucks prospect,
Oh,
Medvedev?
Medvedev.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was just reading, I think it might have been your tweets, it might have been someone else. My apologies. Research is not our strong, our strong suit on this podcast.
All
I
good.
read, I saw somewhere that he was having like a great start to the
Yeah.
season, and then second half he kind of, slumped and lost his starting job in the playoffs for London. Like,
Oh, it
what's
wasn't even the playoffs. It was like,
it was
yeah,
even before that. This is not good. Like, what's going on?
no, it's not good. And like, hey, I always preface like I'm not a goalie whisperer. Like I'm not using T pushes, and I'm not quads where I'm going post to post integrations. Like for me, I just call it as I see it. Like I really, he looked really good, in the prospect challenge and even in training camp. Like he looked legitimate. Goes over to London. He was pretty much the best OHL goalie for the first 2 months, maybe 3 months of the season, basically until mid-December. Like I'm eye test and also stats, he was definitely the best goalie in the OHL. For whatever happened, he just had one bad game, kind of compiled into two, compiled into a month, compiled him to losing the starting job in January. And at that point, like he like you could see it at the starting of the season, but his numbers were fine, so you kind of just let it pass. But then as he started playing poorly, it almost seems like he was getting into his head, and he would make a mountain out of an anthill. Like like from a play that was relatively routine, he would just all of a sudden lose his net. Like we saw so much of it even in the playoff round where he finally was in there. So he lost the starting job, got it back in game 4 and game 5, because Gatto, his counterpart, was ended up playing bad. But he would just let in these like incredibly bad goals, to the point where you're watching like I don't even know where you would get that from, to like all of a sudden he's in a spin cycle spinning around his crease. But then he's the most athletic goalie you ever see. Like he makes an unreal save, plays well for 25 shots, and then just lets in this absolute stinker. So I don't know what the real issue is. Like for me, it has to be mental. I think he just he ran into a rough spot, and it just compiled and compiled and compiled. At the end of the day, I'm not hitting any panic buttons yet. He's 18. This was his first real stint. Like he's still super young. He was drafted as one of the youngest players in the draft. Like he was super young. We'll see how next year goes. Obviously, it wasn't great. He will get the starter job back. His counterpart, he graduates. He's going to college next year. So I do anticipate, Medvedev should be just his spot again, just to retake it. We'll see what happens. Not hitting the panic button yet, but it was not good. Like there's no way to sugarcoat it. His games were sketchy.
I could be wrong, but just listening, I could be wrong, but just listening to you describe Medvedev's game recently kind of reminds me of a younger Jacob Markstrom.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Just like
Goaltending is
just
crazy.
And like that's the thing, like that's why I'm not really hitting the panic button. Like because for me, like a goalie, like your projection is 5 to 6 years. Like with the forward, you obviously are hoping they're doing some stuff, within 2 years. You're really hoping to see some, maybe even the next year, you're hoping to see some pop. But with goalies, I just know it's one of those weird positions where you're looking at like a 23-year-old goalie for them to hit. Like Ty Young next year. You're really hoping to see him kind of hit his mark next year.
And also, like goaltending, you're so reliant on the team in front of you,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah, he might be letting in some stinkers, but like you're also saying that he's making these incredible saves.
Oh yeah, super athletic.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't like you said, I wouldn't worry about him just because of the goaltending aspect of everything. You wait 5-6 years before you start to project goalies, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And like I said, I don't know what the answer is. I'm not Kevin Woodley. I would love. I'm definitely going to pick his brain this summer because I'm super curious. Because like I said, sometimes it just looks like he just loses his net completely. So
All right,
I
thank you,
think my
Dave. Oh, wait.
one final question. This is
yeah,
for just entirely of Canucks fans. If the Canucks don't get the first pick or the second pick and they drop to number three, it's not the end of the world, right?
I'm.
It would suck. It's not gonna. I'm not gonna enjoy it. Okay,
It's
no. Let's put it this way. It depends who gets that first overall pick.
sure.
If it's
We
the
don't want
Leafs,
Toronto.
if it's the Leafs, I will lose it.
Yep.
I
We
will
don't want Toronto.
absolutely. You don't know how pre-mad I got when TSN did their mock draft lottery and they had Toronto 1, Chicago 2.
No, I
I was
agree.
just absolutely furious. And it didn't even count for anything. So
Yeah.
like, oh, that on that draft day, no, I can't. I'm knocking on wood right now as I say it.
I'm actually going to be just as upset if it's Chicago too. Like they've just had so many first overall first round like top three picks. It's insane. Like it's like if it's San Jose, like a team that comes in out of nowhere, like oh well, whatever it is, what it is. If it like I say, if you're a Canucks fan, you hope that it's San Jose because I think if you're San Jose, I think they're more geared towards, taking a defenseman than anyone. So like that's the thing. Like the more I talk to more people, the more like just even if the Canucks do get third overall, like that doesn't mean you're not getting Stenberg or McKenna. Like don't make it seem like they are locked in. Like I've heard, like I know there's a lot of people that are high up on Chase Reed, and even Carson Carroll's. Like just because you get third overall does not mean you're not getting these two wingers. It's probable, but they're by no means they'll shoe in. This draft, the one thing that I've learned is there's no consensus from 1 to the 7th round. It's just a crapshoot. And you can say that about a lot of years, but this year there's usually at least some consensus, at least at 1 and 2. But this year there's just nothing.
I just
Top
ran
three.
Tankathon. No joke. Toronto
Oh
won it.
Oh
no.
no, are you kidding
Yeah, I
me?
ran it once. Toronto won it. New Jersey
Uh,
second.
we can't leave on that note.
Yeah,
Top
yeah.
three teams, top three teams that cannot win the draft lottery for Canuck fans is the Leafs, Chicago, and I think the Rangers. I would not be able to accept the Rangers winning because, they got Lafreniere, they had Kako, and they ruined their development. And
They can't develop anyone.
yeah.
All right, Dave. Thanks for joining us, man. Hopefully, we can have you on again sometime soon. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, anytime, man. This is a blast. Yeah, anytime you want me to come on, just let me know.
Thanks, Dave.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Dave.
Thanks, man.
Have a good one.
Yeah. Have
Cheers,
a good
bro.
one, man. Thanks, sir. We'll send you the link.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
All right, cheers, guys.
Cheers.